looking at geometric sequences today. We just finished up arithmetic sequences. On an arithmetic sequence, to get from one term to the next, what do we do? Added. And to get on geometric, what do you think we're going to do to get from one term to the next?
Divide.
Use geometry.
Subtract.
Multiply.
Okay, I already said that
I
like
didn't hear
twice.
it. Sorry. Alright, so we are going to multiply to get from one sequence to the next. On arithmetic, it's called a common difference. On geometric, it's called a common ratio to get from one number to the next. So here's an example of what we're talking about. I have 8, -2, 1/2, and so on. What we want to do is figure out what the common ratio is, and then get the next three terms.
Divided by -4.
Divide by -4, except
1 to 4.
Multiplied by -1.
we need a, yes, that's what we're looking for. So my common ratio would be -1/4. Here's the easy way to get it. To get the common ratio, all you have to do is take the second term divided by the first term, and you see that we get -1/4 is my common ratio. So that means that is the number I multiply by to get from one term to the next term.
Divide second term by the first term.
Divide the second term by the first term, that gives you your common ratio. Just like on arithmetic, we took the second term minus the first term, and that gave me my common difference. All right, so now I want to find the next three terms. So what do I do to find the next three terms? Multiply by -1/4. So 1/2 times -1/4 gives me -1/8. -1/8 times -1/4 gives me 1/32. And -1/4 times 1/32.
-1/128.
-1/-128. Or sorry, -1/128. Three terms. Alright, another example.
Thank you.
Alright, this time I have 4, 11, 30.25, and so on. So the first thing I need is my common ratio, which is 11/4, and since they gave me a term in decimal form, I probably ought to put my ratio in decimal form. So that would be 2.75. So then I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to go 30.25 times 2.75. And when you give me these, give me 3 decimal places, please. So 83.187 or 188 would work. Okay, but leave the actual number in your calculator and then just press times 2.75 again to get the next one. So I get 228.765 or 766, either way. And then I go times 2.75 again, and that gives me 629.105. Okay, I want to do one more like this that's slightly different. Alright, so on this geometric sequence, I have w plus 3, 2w plus 6, 4w plus 12, and I want to find the common ratio and the next three terms. Casey's telling me the common ratio is 2. Anybody have a problem seeing that? Because if you have 2w plus 6 over w plus 3, if you take a 2 out of the top, that leaves me with w plus 3. What happens to the w plus 3s? They cancel, and we see my ratio is 2. So, if my ratio is 2, Jared, what's my next term?
8W24.
Plus 24, very good. The next one would be 16W plus 48, and the last one would be
32W plus 96.
plus 96, very good. So that's the first type. You're going to find the common ratio and find the next three terms. What do you think we're going to have to do next?
We offered.
We offered those
We
three.
offered the ratio.
No. What do we do next?
Explicit and recursive.
There we go. Now we want to find the explicit formula and the recursive formula.
Is it the same formula?
It is not the same formula, but it's similar.
But you still call it the same thing.
Alright, so here is my geometric sequence. I want to find an explicit formula for this and a recursive formula for this.
Did I say 312.5?
312.5.
Okay. It's not clear.
Alright. So we're going to do a sub n. What do you think has to be part of my formula?
What?
What do you think has to be part of my formula? A sub 1. So we're going to start with a sub 1,
D.
and then we're going to go r to the n minus 1. That is my explicit formula for geometric sequences. So the only two things I need to plug into this formula to get the formula is what?
What?
A sub 1
And R.
and r. That's all I have to do to plug in to get the formula. So a sub 1 is 2. What is r? Yes, 25 divided by 2, which is 12.5. And there's my explicit formula.
We just keep the n minus 1.
Yes, keep the n minus 1 because it's the formula. Alright, recursive. What's the first thing I need for a recursive formula?
What A1 equals?
A1. So I write down A1 equals 2. And then I have A sub n equals, what do you guys think the rest of it will be?
N minus, oh, and divided by 1? N minus 1?
And A sub n minus 1.
Okay.
And how do I get from one term to the next?
Oh, the ratio?
What do I do with the ratio?
Times it, so.
Multiply. So the recursive is going to be A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 times r, and r in this case is 12.5. What's the problem?
You drew a heart.
I drew a heart.
Yeah, your little
Oh,
times
yeah.
R looks like a horse.
Oh, goodness. So on recursive, I just need A sub 1 and then A sub n minus 1 times r. Is all I need for the recursive.
Wait. So that's all. Is this the first time of the assignment?
What?
I mean, is this is what we're doing in today's assignment? Is this all?
Okay.
What is that?
We've got to be able to find specific terms and then find some means. So that's what we have left.
Okay.
Okay.
What is that in your hand? Just notes?
Yes?
Sticky note.
I didn't know.
You just never need to know.
Or
Yeah,
question?
because you're a genius.
You're just perfect.
Really, your ratings. So we get to use notes on the tests.
I will probably give you some formulas,
Great.
but no notes. Alright, same thing on this one. We want to write the explicit formula. We want to write a recursive formula. So A sub n equals A sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So A sub 1 is 1 over 32. I need to figure out what r is.
It's 1/2, right?
It's not 1/2. It's 2. But remember, what's the method in finding r?
Divide
The second.
1/16 by 1/36.
Alright, so here's how I want you to do it if you're dealing with fractions. I want you to do 1 over 16
Times.
divided by 1 over 32.
Multiply by 32.
Right, and that division tells me to multiply by the reciprocal, and there we can see that it gives me 2. So if you're dealing with fractions, write them side by side, take the reciprocal and then multiply. That's the easiest way to get the R.
Okay.
Alright, so there's explicit. For the recursive, I had to start out with a sub 1. And then I need a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times what? In this case?
R.
R, which is what?
2.
Times 2, and there's my recursive form. Alright, now we want to find specific terms.
Is that where you plug in?
Yeah, we're going to have to find the formula and then plug in.
Okay.
So I have the sequence 189, 151.2, 120.96. They want me to find the 27th term. But as we just discussed, in order to find the 27th term, what do I need to help me find that? The formula.
And
So a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. And how do we find r again?
you divide.
Second divided by the first, so 151.2 divided by 189.
Give 0.8.
8.8. Then to get the 27th term, all I have to do is plug in 27. Bless you.
Thanks.
So 0.8 raised to the 26th, and then times 189. 3 decimal places, I get 0.571.
Good.
Thank you.
So your so 0.57 was your answer.
0.571 is my answer.
Cool.
Should we square it first? Or like should I multiply
You can.
189 times-
You need to make sure that whatever you're raising to the power is inside of parentheses.
So I should do that first.
You can do that first, or you can write it just like this. But the key is making sure that this is in parentheses. If that's not in parentheses, it'll get it wrong sometimes,
Okay.
especially when you're dealing with negatives.
Okay.
Now, first hour was having a little bit of trouble with this problem, so hopefully you guys can do better. We'll see.
We will.
All right, this one wants me to find a sub 12, and they give me a sub 3 is 32 and r is -4.
Ooh.
I could have to find a sub 1, or there's an alternate way to do it.
Couldn't you just divide by -4 twice?
You could do that to get a sub 1, that's fine. But what if you're dealing with a number that's not that close to a sub 1, like a sub 10, and you'd have to divide by 10 times?
Well, you would multiply that number by the ratio and then divide. Okay, never mind.
Anybody have any suggestions
Skip it.
that do not require us finding a sub 1?
Why don't you just multiply 32 times -4? So you got
Here's my suggestion. Let's act like this is a sub 1.
Okay.
And if I act like that's a sub 1, then I want to find what?
It's
A sub 10.
Oh, we're subtracting.
And if I find a sub 10, then I found the number that is actually a sub 12 is what they're looking for.
Oh, that's.
But what if you're
genius
just not
idea.
like close like that? You could just still do that.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I can make whatever they give me, I can make a sub 1 as long as I make the adjustment with what it is I'm trying to find. Okay? So since this was 3 and I went to a sub 1, I subtracted by 2. So that means instead of finding 12, I want to find 10. Can you handle that?
Yeah.
Well,
Because first hour couldn't handle that.
why did you just decide that that was gonna be 32?
Because my formula, I have to have something that represents a sub 1. So I'm saying if this is a sub 1, then that means I want to find a sub 10.
Seems kind of sketchy.
Alright, here we go.
How many times did I find 10?
Alright, I've got a sub 1 here, and I've got a sub 12.
But we're finding a
Hush,
substitute.
hush, hush. You don't ever let me, when I'm trying to explain, you don't ever let me try to explain. You always interrupt. They give me this number. Right there.
I didn't
Are you on
know.
it? Or are you just going to block me out?
Put a sub 3 under it.
That's what I'm getting right there.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Alright, so they give me a sub 3. Okay, but sometimes I'm not going to be this close to a sub 1. Yes, I could divide by 30, I could divide 32 by 4 twice and get to a sub 1 and then put it into the formula. But sometimes I'm not this close to a sub 1. So my suggestion is make this a sub 1. And if this is a sub 1, then this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoa. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I not count right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. I went to
Wow.
last year.
Sorry.
So that's 12. But if I make that a sub 1, then that means that's 10. But I'm still finding the same number because what am I doing from here to get to that spot? I'm just multiplying by -4 a certain amount of times. Okay, and it doesn't matter if this is a sub 3 or a sub 1, just as long as I know this one is a certain distance away from that one. Alright, so a sub 1, r, n minus 1. So we're now saying a sub 1 is 32, my r is -4, and my n is 10. Punch that in.
You get -8388608.
-8388608. That is correct.
Is it?
Now, we found it as a sub 10, but with the original problem, it's the same thing as a sub 12. Alright, one example of a geometric mean and we're done.
Hold on. Okay.
Getting on. And then,
Yes, we're having homework.
okay, thank you.
480 and -7.5. And I want to find two means. So what does that mean if I want to find two means
There's
between
gonna
them?
be 2 spaces in between them.
Alright, so I've got 480, I've got a space, and then I've got -7.5. So what am I going to do to find these means?
Find D.
We don't have D in this one. What do we have in this one? We need to find R. So what am I going to do to find R? Put it into the explicit. I'm going to think of 480 as what?
A1.
And I'm going to think of -7.5 as A4. So A sub 1, R, n minus 1. So where do I put what?
You put the 4 where the ends are.
Alright, so I put 4 there. R is what I'm looking for. So what do I put in for A sub n?
4-8.
Nope.
Oh, no. 7.7.
-7.5, and I put 480 there. So I'm going to have to do -7.5 divided by 480. And then what do I do with that answer?
Square it by 3.
Cube root.
Cube root. So I need to do the cube root of that answer.
There's another 4 minus 3.
So you do negative 7.5 divided by,
That's negative 0.25.
how do you do a cube root?
It's the button to the left of the x squared. Oh, you got a different answer.
Control.
We end up with
40.
r being negative 0.25. If you need me to show you how to do the cube root, I'll do that here in a second after we get finished. Once I know what r is, what do I do to find my two means? Start with 480 and multiply by negative 2.25. 480 times negative 0.25. That gives me negative 120.
30.
And multiply by negative 0.25.
30.
That gives me 30. Now, what can I do to make sure I did it right?
Plug.
Do it again.
Do it again. So times negative 0.25, and what should I get? Negative 7.5, and I do. So that gives me what I want.
So you divide by 480 from 7,
I divided by 480,
and then,
and then since this was r to the third, I have to do the cube root of both sides to get r by itself.
okay. Whatever you cube root, do you do the blue button of the one that makes it go to an exponent? Okay.
I'll show you just a second.